Hey, team players, and welcome back. We've been doing a lot of best ball drafts, and today's going to be no different. Last week, on Monday, we hit off with a great 2 quarterback build, and that was so fun. We're going to try it again with a different quarterback setup. 2 quarterback builds might be the way to dominate this. Here we go. So, Bob, that 2 quarterback setup last week was great. It's just,
Great.
how do we repeat this? And is it really the future, or is it just we got lucky because we were smart enough to build a Giants build and we knew Russell Wilson would be sitting there? So
I think a little bit
let's
of
start
column
with
A, a
that.
little bit of
Was it
column
a
B,
fluke,
actually.
or is this like
So,
all right?
a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Let's be honest here. So, every draft is a little bit different, but I do think that as we prepare for Best Ball Mania, I do think that it is a good idea at the very minimum to discuss 2 quarterback builds, because when we are headed into Best Ball Mania season, it tends to be that, either the rounds go down, particularly on underdog. There's not like 20 rounds on underdog. So you're taking less positions. And so you want to invest your time and your assets in positions that you're going to be starting every other week. I mean, let's face it. I mean, quarterbacks get injured. That will happen. That can happen. But if you're not, this goes to what we said earlier in the year too, right? So when we were going through and saying, okay, you could stick away from your 1 quarterback main build. You could do that. And this is the team that you construct. And we were very happy with a lot of those teams. Then you go and you say, okay, well, what does it look on the opposite end? On the opposite end of the spectrum, what it looks like is that you are now not mucking around in that 9th, 10th, 11th round. You can now put assets into that round that are, quite honestly, decent enough assets, especially in the wide receiver market, that if you don't invest in the quarterbacks there, that's not saying that these quarterbacks can't be successful, because we've proven that time and time again, that these quarterbacks will provide you with enough points to be successful. But if you are wanting to avoid that completely,
Can I hit you up on that? Because to me, the value of the 2 quarterback build was not shopping in those waters, and it was going essentially zigging while the rest of the draft was zagging.
Right. I agree with you, and I
that was the part of the 2 quarterback build that I love.
Yeah, and I do think that when we look at that 9th, 10th, 11th round, while there is good assets at quarterback in those rounds, if you can buck the trend and not build quarterbacks in those rounds, I think you are taking a better gamble on your team a little bit more. You are giving your team a slight edge in a way that, there's only going to be 4 teams that really have that edge. And no other team is going to have that. And so as long as you're not investing in double onesies while doing this, I think that it is a lineup that is definitely going to be profitable when we look at the stat sheets after Best Ball Mania, after early Best Ball. I really do think that you're going to see a decent chunk of these I'll call it hero quarterback, to be honest with you.
It's an interesting way of looking at it.
This hero quarterback.
Hey, guys who are watching right now, you can join in this draft we're about to do. We're going to be doing this on DraftKings, the $10 buy-in for the $1 million training camp. If you guys want to jump in with us, as we said before, any live draft is good. Underdog is still giving me fits, and apparently so is our lag connection between me and Bob as well. But again, feel free. There's 4 slots that are open right now for the $1 million training camp on DraftKings if you want to do the full PPR with us.
Yeah, I think it's because I forgot to turn recording off. I think it's lagging because the recording is on, and I don't really know about that. But to go along with what we were saying, there is so many different builds in Best Ball that you can make. And there's so many different pull-ups, like we were talking about, that you can do, that if you're pulling up one of these quarterbacks, I do think that it's going to make us pretty spicy builds. So, George, welcome back, George.
Love you, George.
Do we think that the Colts in the later rounds could pick Quinn Ewers? Thoughts on this QB? So here's the thing. I have heard much discussion from message boards, from just, dynasty fantasy football users, etc., and from just the talking heads in bigger media markets about the rise of Quinn Ewers in a lot of different sections of like draft circles. While I don't really feel like Quinn Ewers moves the needle for the Indianapolis Colts at all, I do think that there is a strong likelihood that either this year or next year, you could definitely see the Indianapolis Colts investing in quarterback a little bit more. I do think that what they're telling us this year at the very minimum is that they're okay going into this year with Anthony Richardson, and they're okay going into.
Oh, where you at?
No. When you look at where they could fall in this market, if the Colts don't do well, then there's the potential that Arch Manning could come out next year or the year after. Now,
no, Arch Manning's not coming out till the very end. The amount of money Texas is paying him, he's staying in college.
Again, is it worth investing a pick in Quinn Ewers? Maybe, but I think they do have a lot of things they need to figure out as well. On the defensive side of the ball, on defensive line as well. And I think that if they do take a quarterback, it probably won't be until the 3rd or 4th round. So they might end up, maybe even in the 5th round, they might end up on Quinn Ewers. While I don't think it's a bad selection by any stretch of the imagination, I just don't think it moves the needle much away from Anthony Richardson or away from Daniel Jones.
And the way Bob's putting that is completely correct. There's only one quarterback in this entire rookie draft that would preclude you from taking another quarterback next year, and that's Cam Ward. Said another way, none of these quarterbacks, which includes Shador, are so good that your franchise is going to pivot around it. What essentially Quinn Ewers is, the guy from Notre Dame, the guy from Ohio State, they're all in the same category. They're just lottery picks. They are they're day 3 lottery picks that basically say, maybe we get something, maybe we aren't. In the case of your Colts in particular, I think it's a horrible idea because there's not going to be any time in terms of training camp or any development to find out, is this lottery pick going to be any good? Because you guys are having a legitimate quarterback competition because the inadequacies of Richardson. Yeah. They need to find out who they're starting. There's not time to develop a 3rd string guy.
So here's the other thing, too. Is that
we'll get back to him here in a minute. I talked about wanting to do 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
What I want to do to make this happen, and I'm hoping that I'm in a spot where I can do it, is I want to be able to do it with the second quarterback being Rodgers, meaning that I want Pickens and Metcalf on this team. So for me to do this build confidently, I need to take a running back in the 1st or 2nd round because I'm definitely not getting both Ohio State running back.
What you'll be thinking of is this pick is either going to be Bijan or Gibbs, or the 2nd round would be Bucky or Taylor.
Yeah, and that's basically what I'm saying. So Gibbs, we haven't taken Gibbs yet at all.
I like Gibbs here. I like Gibbs a lot.
Yeah, and then we're going to take.
I think it's going to be
best running or best receivers, basically the rest of the
time. Now, to what you said earlier about Quinn Ewers, because I think this is a good discussion to have, is that if you watched any of the games for Texas, it's not denying that Quinn Ewers can be a successful quarterback, right? In the fact that the talent at Texas surrounding him was great. I mean, there was all kinds of weapons that they had, and one of the things is that he did struggle. And you can look at this in his NFL, draft combine profile, is that he wasn't putting up enough points in certain games against big profile teams when he needed to win. And that's why Arch Manning, who everybody is proclaiming as the second coming, right, was put into some games because Quinn Ewers wasn't getting it done. And when you look at the Colts, you said here, George, completing for the least interceptions per game. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, you look at Quinn Ewers, you look at Daniel Jones, and you look at Anthony Richardson, and let's face it, all three of them can struggle to put up points. So why do you want quarterbacks on your team that are like, yeah, Quinn Ewers fits a mold a little bit better than Anthony Richardson does. He is more pro style. He is willing to push through a lot of things, but he can be lazy, with his feet. He can be lazy with his looks, and that leads to problems. So why would you want a third asset like that on your team? Let somebody else take the bullet on that one. If I was a Colts fan, I am definitely not investing in Quinn Ewers. If they do,
and quite frankly, as a Colts fan, I don't want to take any quarterback this year. None of them are going to move the needle. I want an offensive line. Like that's what I want to rebuild, and I want an offensive line, and I want a defense that hits people. You haven't had that second one in 10 years.
There's chatter that even like the Raiders, that the Saints are interested in Quinn Ewers. I mean,
well, Saints better be interested in everybody.
Honestly, I don't see it as any different than a guy like Colt McCoy, to be honest with you, another Texas quarterback. I know that they're different quarterbacks and their success.
Oh, they're pretty similar. They're both short. But they're overrated because they wore burnt orange. And they're accurate, but they're not exactly fast processors or big cannons.
Yeah, and it's possible, George, like you just said, when you look at teams, some of the teams that we like, us, the Steelers, you, the Colts, they do the unexpected, and it's not something that, as a fan base, we're really looking forward to. I mean, if I'm the Colts, I need a tight end. We said this last year with Brock Bowers. They missed the boat on Brock Bowers hard. Maybe they go out and get Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren this year. They do need to upgrade at different positions, including the quarterback position. But again, Joe, right here,
I think this is Josh Allen.
This is Allen, yeah.
Yeah. And then we can throw some Buffalo guys in late for the stack. Like I said, I was so excited about how we did this hero quarterback type build before. I'm just excited for what this can be. I like Kincaid on a roster. He's a guy that I'm pretty big on.
I'm okay with big Palmer and Coleman.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
You get both of those pretty cheap without fighting against each other.
I mean, you're looking at with a team like this. We're going
to do a Buffalo and Steelers stack. That's what we're doing.
At a really high upside. I'm not like all for the Steelers stack. Let's not get that twisted. But I will say though,
I'm for Metcalf, and I think Pickens is very intriguing.
I will say though, I know we want to talk about wide receiver on this next pick, but if by some strange circumstance Bucky went around, it's going to be really hard for me to not take him.
No, Bucky went at 2-4, dude.
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, see, he's rising up, man. He's rising up.
He is.
All right.
He is.
So let's look at the room. What wide receivers? What are the next 5 wide receivers on the board?
The 3 that I'd be most interested in are Najigba, Garrett Wilson, Evans, and Adams.
I like Garrett Wilson for the divisional correlation.
Fair enough.
Plus the upside. So if he ends up staying on the board,
there he goes, not there.
The correlation would have been really nice.
Well, there's also Tyreek on the board, but to me, I don't want to jump in the Tyreek.
Yeah, crazy. I don't want to jump into that as my first wide receiver, to be honest with you. If
I'm
JSN
okay
is there, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with JSN. I'm also okay with the guy like DJ Moore because he does have correlation to Gibbs. At least twice a year. There goes Lamar.
See, you can't get me on DJ Moore's bus. Then Jigba, I think, is the
I'm okay with Njigba here. And
we
then
hopefully get DJ Moore in the comeback.
I don't think so. DJ Moore has been a polarizing player for most people, but I'm not seeing really. I mean, I could understand the expectations of DJ Moore this year, but I do think that when people are drafting DJ Moore here down in the 3rd and 4th round, that there is legitimately no concern for him as a 3rd or 4th wide receiver on my best ball team at all. Even as a 2nd wide receiver, I'm very comfortable ruling DJ Moore, and I'm also very comfortable ruling DJ Moore out as my 1st wide receiver. One of the reasons why is that when we look at Caleb Williams, yeah, he's not he had struggles last year. That is undeniable. We talked about that almost every single week. But I do think that they are investing in making this team better than it was last year. They went out, got pieces to make the offensive line better. They're going out and they're going to try to get a running back to make the team better. They went out, they got a head coach who led an incredible offense the past 2 seasons. So I see no reason why, outside of maybe weather concerns, that DJ Moore shouldn't be on people's list, especially here in the 3rd round. Like, I would go so far as to say
the reason is his quarterback sucks.
I get it, but I would absolutely be fine. And here, if I'm looking at just these wide receivers in this 3rd round, I am okay taking DJ Moore over everybody except for JSN. I would go so far as to say.
So, all right. So the one here, I'll take that back. The one thing that the quarterback gives them is because he's so bad at processing that they will always be in 3rd and long, and DJ Moore will get more valuable targets, but he'll have less red zone targets.
I think
that is a Caleb Williams thing. He loves being sacked way too much.
I am okay in a PPR league where, he's not dominating the touchdowns, but he's dominating the targets. I mean, targets are king. Like, if I'm looking at the board, would I rather have him more?
And Chicago's going to have to throw it a lot. Even if they get Genty somehow, they're going to have to throw it a lot because of how often Williams gets sacked.
You could reasonably make an argument where DJ Moore and Garrett Wilson have similar-ish kind of capacities to be successful this year, but the only thing kind of holding them back would be the quarterback situation. I mean, looking at those 2 players, they easily could both surpass 115, like 115 targets, if not more, and doing that with ease and breaking 1,000 yards easy. Both of those players. So
as you say that, I do think Garrett Wilson is a more talented receiver than DJ Moore. However, I'm thinking JMO on this one. Either JMO or Devontae Smith.
I like JMO.
And then we'll try to get Metcalf on the comeback and have a nice little thing there. But back to my point, you're comparing DJ Moore and Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson's a much more talented quarterback. In terms of getting balls thrown to him that are catchable, I actually think Williams is better at throwing an accurate ball. He's just way more likely to get sacked. And Fields is more likely to run for his life. So
like I said,
when it comes to said and done, I think DJ Moore will have more catchable targets. I think neither one of them are going to be high-scoring offenses.
But like I said, though, there's
both of which will be lucky if they get 5 wins.
I want to talk
Bob, why do people keep doing this?
I don't know. It's terrible because they want to screw over the Chase and the Higgins owner. That's why. They want to play games.
You don't do that in the 4th round.
You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. That guy has yet to have a wide receiver on his team. He's going to struggle. He's going to take 6 consecutive wide receivers, most likely.
You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So, Bob, that might be my new favorite thing you've ever said on the show.
So when you look at, there's 2 factors why I like DJ Moore better than Garrett Wilson, and I will take both. But DJ Moore's situation, I think, drastically makes more sense to me. So, yes, Breece Hall is still in a Jets uniform, and Fields has come over, and Fields made DJ Moore's season really good because he only basically threw the ball to DJ Moore exclusively. And then you look at Garrett Wilson. People are projecting that to make the same kind of transition, right? Because let's face it, the Jets don't really have a reasonable target outside of Breece Hall and DJ Moore, or Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. Then you look at DJ Moore. The thing that I like about his situation is that, like I said, they're actively trying to make that offensive line better. So if Caleb Williams can throw a more accurate ball and has more time to do so because he's not on his ass, that's a bonus. Number 2, they are talking about and interviewing rookie running backs. And if rookie running backs are coming into that room, they are going to take the pressure off because DeAndre Swift is one of the least efficient running backs you will see in the league. If they can do that and have an actual running game, Caleb Williams might not have to throw the ball 35 times, but the times that he does throw the ball, let's say it's 28, let's say it's 30, are going to be way more efficient and way more valuable. So that is why I like DJ Moore's potentials at targets rather than Garrett Wilson. Team 3 is just blowing up their lineup. I don't understand I don't understand that build at all. The double-double, the double-double one.
That's perfect. We got Metcalf just as we wanted. This is perfect, Bob. So far, this build, again, I'm not super comfortable with any build that involves JMO. He's too much of an up and down player, but he's the perfect best ball player. I would never build this team for a redraft league, but for best ball, JMO is going to be one of my 8 or 9 receivers. I'm totally cool with that.
All right, I'm a throw something at you right now.
Hit me with it, man.
Because you're going to be like,
if we get Henderson on the comeback, I think that this is a great start. I'm just loving the start so far.
I'm on right now. I'm on the weekly leaders. I always like this resource. Weekly leaders of on Fantasy Pros from week 1 to 18. I'm going to take out week 18 because we know that doesn't matter.
That's right.
We come down. JSN last year was on average, a weekly average. He ranked 15th in the league. Okay, 15th in the league.
Yeah,
you
perfect.
come down. You
and
come
he does
down.
Have Metcalf, so he's going to get better.
JMO was sitting at 24th in the league. You look at his down games. Yes, he had a game that was 1.2 points, 0.6 points, 8.3 points, and 9.3 points, 9.6 points, which was really down. But you look at the ups: 24.4, 17.7, 22.6, 24.5, 26. Now, again, Ben Johnson leaving is going to have a drastic effect on the way this offense works. So we have 2 Lions players. So that's something to keep in mind. We're not stacking them with Jared Goff, but like I said earlier, if I am not building hero quarterback and I am taking JMO and Gibbs, then I am absolutely taking Jared Goff with those 2. I'm avoiding Goff with Amon-Ra, which is conventional wisdom. And I'm going with the other 2 because if the other 2 are successful, that means that they're successful with touchdowns. Okay.
Hey, what do you think of Laporta here?
Successful with touchdowns. I don't like it because we're not going.
I'm good with the Hawk being our dude.
I'm okay. Right here, I don't want to take Judkins here.
We're taking Kincaid later. Never mind. We're taking Kincaid. That was a dumb answer. We'll never do the Bills. I'm not used to having the Bills.
We're avoiding that. All right. What's the plan here?
So to me, this is either Najee or Judkins with Henderson already off the board.
I'm okay with Najee if he's still there. I don't really want Judkins because I'm hearing a lot of chatter about him being only a 2-down back. I don't know if I really.
Oh, that's not the case. The reason people say that is because he never got to do pass blocking at Ohio State.
I get it.
I don't foresee that being a problem once he's in the league. And the reason he never did pass blocking is because Henderson's amazing at it.
Yeah. Honestly.
Oh, there went Najee here. All right, so your best running backs are Monty, Aaron Jones, and Jalen Warren.
Well, you can get the correlation with Jones and Monty. We could go Gibbs and Monty. Thunder and lightning, baby. Thunder and lightning. I'm not like excited about that because it really limits our floor and our ceiling. But we'll make it up. We'll make up the difference.
Well, this next pick will have to be a running back.
This is why though, I'd rather not have taken DK. I would have rather taken Henderson and then put Pickens in there because I don't see any veritable difference between DK and Pickens. To be honest with you.
Oh, see, I'm taking Pickens here.
I know, but you could have taken Henderson.
My gut reaction was put a running back here, but I'm going to take Pickens here because
I want to build this. What I'm saying is you could have taken Henderson. Then come around
Henderson was on the board. Oh, you saying it's going to Metcalf? Well, I with Henderson's ADP of being 70, I was going to roll that dice regardless. So Henderson wouldn't have. I would not have thought Henderson would have gotten drafted where he was. I thought he was going to easily come back.
There goes Pickens.
But Pickens doesn't. That kind of sucks. So I'm thinking Warren is the pick. Gives us the running back and the Steelers stack.
I hate that. I'd
rather him or Aaron Jones. Those are the choices.
I hate both. Do whatever you want on that one. I think both. I like Aaron Jones a little bit more, but when you look at this is why I say. And for everybody watching right now, like what we're doing right here is we're going with the hero, what we're calling a hero quarterback build. We're not building the quarterback until much later. Our first running back is Gibbs there. We got Josh Allen, JSN, JMO, DK, Monty, Warren. Now, here, having Josh Allen, like I said, I probably would have went Shakir there, Joe. knowing that we needed a wide receiver, you didn't get Pickens, I would have built Shakir because I see no value in Warren.
We also needed a running back, though.
It doesn't matter about that need specifically right now, because there is a realistic chance that Warren doesn't have a job come October.
Oh, I don't know. Even if they get someone like because the Steelers don't have a second-round pick, and their first-round pick's not going to be a running back. So I think Warren, at worst-case scenario, is running carries like he always has.
It could be.
No, that first-round pick is definitely going to be a defensive line.
What you're telling me by taking Warren here is that you think Warren is one of the players that isn't going to lose his job this year.
I think he's going to have the same, if not a greater role than last year. Yes. Plus, he's not going to be hurt.
So the Steelers wouldn't go and take Caleb Johnson. The Steelers wouldn't go out and get Judkins. The Steelers wouldn't go out and get Devin Neal.
They don't have a second-round pick. So
I understand that, but those guys can go in the third round. Those guys can go in the third round. I just don't see the necessity of taking Warren there when we equally need.
Even with Judkins, though, I don't think it radically changes where Warren's at.
Right, but again, I think our team would have been better if you wouldn't have pushed Monty and you would have just taken Pickens there, and then take Warren, because I see the same.
Pickens, his ADP was 82. I just took a risk on it, and I felt it was a reasonable risk then, and don't really want to go beat myself up about what I thought was a reasonable risk. I mean, his ADP, he got.
We're gonna position ourselves best ball here. We're gonna position ourselves to get Palmer late. We're absolutely going to gun for Palmer, Coleman, a combination of Palmer, Coleman, and Kincaid. Maybe not all three, but maybe 2 out of the 3. Depending on where.
So that being said, for this upcoming pick here, I'm looking at McMillan or probably Caleb Johnson, and then trying to get McMillan.
You don't have the luxury to take. You don't have the luxury of taking McMillan. I think the only builds that I'm taking McMillan is when McMillan slots in as a wide receiver 5 or 6. If he is trotted out there as your wide receiver 4, I am not as confident at
so why is that?
So here's why. When we look at Tampa specifically, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we say, okay, where are the targets going to go? Well, assuming everyone's healthy, the order of operation is Godwin, Bucky, Evans. You might replace Evans with Godwin in there as well. That's there. And then you have Cade Otton.
But what if Godwin's not healthy, given that catastrophic injury?
Again, I am operating every time I draft that everybody is going to be healthy. Okay? So, except for Tank.
So, here's the receivers on the board that we got here. We got McMillan, Burden, Pittman, Mooney, and Shaheed.
I don't like any of that.
Either.
If you want to take a chance on McMillan, you can, but I'd want to come back and get Mooney if he's still on the board.
I'm good with both. I'm good with both of these being a receiver. Yeah, I'm fine with
it. Because it gives us a little bit of correlation to that division. Assuming
Shaheed, so I'm going with Shaheed as well. So who do you prefer, Mooney or Shaheed?
Either one. One of them is most likely going to be there on the comeback. I just really hate this Montgomery, Jaylen Warren. I keep staring. It's like staring at me in the face. While I'm not upset by Montgomery, and I'm not necessarily upset by Warren in and of himself, I'm upset by the combination. I just don't see. When this build works, right? Is there's for this month for this Gibbs and Monty build to work, it's going to predicate that a lot of touchdowns are scored up there in Detroit, which is fine. But I just don't think, like, if Monty is going to see our lineup, I don't see a pathway where Warren is going to do the same thing. You get what I'm saying? Like, when Monty goes off,
I think
touchdown.
I think there's a chance when the dust settles, given the fact that Warren was hurt and it really brought down his numbers for the first quarter of the year. I think that without Najee there and just having a rookie to battle against, I bet he puts up 1,100 yards.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he's going to be a focal back.
I guess what I'm saying is that I think that your want to necessitate in a Steelers build into this Gibbs, Josh Allen lineup just doesn't make sense.
That was mostly just because of Rodgers. I know we can get him so cheap and late, and we can build a stack around it.
But again, I'm not. And as I said to you, I sent a text to you the other day to say that, like, I wish the Steelers were easier to build around because I don't know who the quarterback is going to be.
All right, Mooney or Shaheed?
Mooney. It could very well be Shedeur or Jackson Dart or Mason Rudolph. And at that point in time, I'm telling you the truth here, dude. Look at this. You could easily see a situation.
There's no way they are drafting Shedeur.
Where they draft. I'm telling you, you look at all the news that has come out of the Steelers camp so far, and everybody is saying that they had a 5-hour interview with Shedeur. And they have said
that. They're doing that so Cleveland overpays to jump the Steelers to come back into the first round.
Shedeur has said, I like Mike Tomlin. And you got to believe, as a coach,
everyone says that.
Everybody, because they hate the Steelers. Like, the organization that is the Steelers is so, like, it doesn't take care of their players so well, but they like Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin wants a guy who's not going to give him crap. And Aaron Rodgers is just going to give Mike Tomlin crap for a year or 2 years, however long.
So what's the difference?
He would rather accept it from a rookie that he could train rather than a vet who's just sitting there smoking peyote all the time. I'm telling you, I'm building it, but I hate it because I'm not confident.
So, Bob, who would you rather have, Kincaid or Coleman? Because if Josh Mason's here, we might only get one of those two.
I'd rather have Kincaid.
Would you rather? Okay. So if Josh Mason's still on the board, I'm going to take him here, and we can basically not worry about running back for a while. And then I'll go Kincaid.
Yeah, because I don't think that team number one is going to prioritize Kincaid unless he is the number one tight end on the board right now.
Oh, we're going to get them both now because they're about Mason. Kincaid first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, that being said, Kincaid's the fourth tight end, and Coleman is the fourth receiver. I'm going to take the receiver first because more likely to be.
You look at the board, everybody's kind of linked up on tight ends already.
Yeah, and it's more likely to have four receivers go the 4 tight ends.
Yeah, and best ball to this point,
so Coleman on the front end.
I do think that both Mooney and Shaheed give you an out. Penix is the out for Mooney. Usually you're drafting him probably in the 10th, 11th, 12th rounds. Derek Carr gives you a late out.
Yeah,
but the problem with Derek Carr is that he might not even be a Saint next year. I was building a decent amount of Derek Carr with
playing.
I was building a decent amount of Derek Carr with Shaheed as early as like 2 weeks ago. And as early as like the beginning or the end of January. But with that news, I just can't build a lot of Shaheed anymore because that's an issue. If you want to build
just the first thing on Google could threaten its availability for the entire 2025 season. I can't rely on Carr.
But best ball, this is the same kind of prognostication that you got to put into the Steelers as well. Is that if they end up going with Milroe, I absolutely want to take Milroe. If they end up going with Dart, I'm not confident in Dart. So I have a little bit more confidence.
I'm not confident in Dart at all.
I have a little bit more confidence in Milroe from a fantasy football perspective, but I don't really have that confidence, the same confidence in Dart. So I know that there is chatter about.
I have no confidence in Dart. I
going to the Saints.
Dart is at least appropriately priced for the least amount of confidence I have in him. Now, Cleveland might go stupid and pay up way big to get there, but given this New Orleans,
that's a good point, best ball.
New Orleans Carr situation, I don't think Shedeur gets past the Saints. And I do think that Cleveland's going to pay to come back in the first round in the teens to go get Dart.
But to the point that Best Ball was making here is that if you build Shaheed and the Steelers and then draft Dart, you're kind of playing the law of averages there and hoping that Dart lands up on the Steelers or the Saints.
You're wasting it. Tomlin doesn't play rookie quarterbacks. He doesn't play rookies at any position.
Who'd you say?
He just doesn't.
Who did you say?
Tomlin doesn't play rookies, and he doesn't have to.
He played
will put out Mason Rudolph.
He played Kenny Pickett. Don't no. Don't even get. He played Kenny Pickett. Will. He played Kenny Pickett. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, he played Kenny Pickett because Trubisky got hurt. He did not have Kenny as the starter. He did not want Kenny to be the starter. Trubisky got hurt.
Kept Kenny in. He kept Kenny Pickett in when Kenny Pickett sucked.
No, that's because he didn't have a choice. He still was starting years number 2. You can't tell me 10 minutes ago you're going off the health, everyone's healthy, and then tell me that I should draft someone in case someone gets hurt.
Yeah, I'm with you on that though. Best Ball is that when you're taking chances on a guy like Dart or you're taking chances on a guy like Shadur, having a Josh Allen, having a Jalen Hurts, having a Jaden Daniels, having a Lamar makes that a easier pill to swallow, right? If I have one of those guys, I absolutely could take more chances on the Darts, on the Shadurs, on, Tyler Shook if you want to a little bit more. That is definitely the play there. And why I was talking with Joe and why we talked this episode as well about Aaron Rodgers, right? Is Aaron Rodgers a necessity in a build where you're building Steelers rather than maybe putting a rookie in there? I don't know. I just have a hard time deciding which quarterback. If I'm only taking 2, one of them can't be Aaron Rodgers. Like that's my personal standpoint. If I'm only taking two quarterbacks, one of them can't be Rodgers.
Unfortunately, with the build we did, it has to be.
Well, with the build you decided on, I just can't see it. I just can't see Rodgers offering, because if he ends up going, let's say he ends up going to the Saints, or let's say he ends up going to the Vikings or whatever. There's just so much.
How about this, Bob? How about I kick Darnold here, and then we just have him as our backup? We have JSN.
I like Darnold better.
All right, we'll just do Darnold and all right. Because there's no real other player here I'm obsessed with, I need to put on this team.
Okay, but listen.
Maybe Bajon Tootin.
Okay, let's go Tootin. I want to go Tootin. Let's go Tootin.
All right, Tootin and Darnold on the turn. I'm good with that.
No, we're gonna keep to our plan. We're gonna take the quarterbacks late, but I like what Best Ball's saying here. Adapting as it goes. Fill the roster with points. Fill the roster with points, and then take 2 quarterbacks late. Just take 2. Instead of just taking 2, take 2 more late. Rookies or whatever. Dart.
All right, so take 3 total is what you're saying.
Take 3 total. I don't think it's going to submarine.
The title of this episode a lie, but I'm okay with it.
We'll see how it goes.
So therefore, then, if we can get Tootin and Garendo, because they're the only 2 quality, I see no other point scorers around this neighborhood. So here's the receivers that are on the board: Higgins, Leggett, Pierce, Harris, Hopkins. None of them are I need to have them because they're going to load the bucket with points.
I mean, I'd
rather go Garendo and take the inevitable McCaffrey injury points.
You could bring up Dylan Sampson too. You could bring him up. His ADP is sitting at 165.
It is. It's 160 now. So what? Well, that's a question. Would you rather have Garendo or Sampson?
I'd be okay.
I think Sampson's more talented, but you don't know his situation. I know Garendo's situation is gold.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with either. The other thing here too, Best Ball, is you mentioned Pierce's spike weeks. On Monday, if you were with us on Monday, we did do a draft where we took Pierce. I don't want to take too much Pierce. So in this draft, I'm specifically not targeting Pierce. But there are reasons to believe that if you're shooting for, an 8-9 wide receiver build, which you should be shooting for, something like that, that having Pierce in there is not a bad call. It's not really a bad call at all, especially if Anthony Richardson plays. If it's Daniel Jones, maybe I'm taking a little bit less Pierce, but I don't want my portfolio to be
so would you rather go Pierce or Sampson? Pierce is basically at ADP. We can roll the dice on Sampson coming around.
Let's try that. I mean, we could. Yeah, let's try that. It adds another wide receiver to the pool, another spike week guy. Keon and Pierce, spike week guys. When it comes back around, Joe, we talked a little bit earlier on about with George about quarterbacks for the Colts. If Richardson is still laying there in the 16th round, reasonable consideration can be given.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. 16 would be a long drop for him, though.
Well, I mean, look at the board. The board is full of quarterbacks right now. So
no, it is, but I see I see 3 columns that are neglecting them
because they have what we have. Like you scroll up,
exactly. They're doing it correctly.
Right? We do need to consider Josh Palmer soon.
So Josh Palmer would probably, well, again, he'll probably be this upcoming pick, either him or Sampson. I think I'd like to, looking at how many receivers are after us, we should take the receiver because there's virtually no yellow to the left of us, and there's been a lot of green. So from just watching the draft construction, Palmer should be the first one, even though his ADP says Sampson should be. Just got to go with the draft, as you guys are saying.
Yeah. And I mean, let's like looking at the board right here.
Oh, I want Sampson there anyway.
There, see, told you. Bringing him up. People are bringing Sampson up a little bit more. He's got a lot of people in his corner, a lot of people in a lot of message boards, chats. A lot of draft experts are pushing Sampson up a little bit more. Like we were saying, he's going to be a valuable piece for any team that gets him. So he has been pushed up now to the 13th round. I believe a couple weeks ago, you were getting him in the 16th round.
Oh, easily.
Bashal, too.
We got him in the last round a couple times.
I mean, Bashal was going all the way down in the 18th, 19th, 20th rounds. He's been elevated to the 12th round. So keeping that in mind, guys, like a lot of these rookies, when you start Best Ball Mania season, are going to have wildly variable ADPs than they do have right now. And getting your value.
Once you know their landing spots, they all will skyrocket.
I think Trevion the most. Trevion right now is being like 5th round, easily fourth round, easily could end up at the end of the 3rd round, depending on team. If he ends up going to the Broncos,
he's a 2nd rounder in the Broncos.
I could easily push him as far up as 3rd round, easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think I push him in a 2nd without worrying about it. So, Bob, this is going to be interesting. So, take Josh Palmer here, and then we will have our pick of Darnold or Richardson in all probability in the 15th round.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the play. I mean, Darnold's slipping. I mean, there's no way around it.
Because I maybe 14-10 takes a quarterback, takes Darnold. But again, there's been chatter too that like Darnold may lose work. I don't know. It's weird.
You don't sign him and not use him.
Because we built JSN and didn't get George Pickens, I'm okay not having to shoot the mold for Aaron Rodgers. You know what I'm saying?
I'm fine with that too. So
okay, there goes Rich.
So here's Palmer.
4 quarterbacks.
And if Darnold comes back to us, that's the fate of the universe telling us that's the way to do it.
Oh, but remember, Joe, the guy at 3 took Lamar and Burrow. So he might not take another
He's not taking another quarterback, yeah.
I mean, this guy to the right of us took 4. That's insane. There was a guy, I was drafting yesterday in a $10 league, and some guy took 5 quarterbacks. 5.
That's just
and there's no reason there's no reason that guy should have taken 4. When you take 4 quarterbacks, and this everybody knows this, but there are continually people that think they're being cute. They think they're being cute by taking 4 quarterbacks. You aren't being cute. You are hurting yourself. There is literally only one chance each week for one of these guys to hit your lineup. And by taking 4, you are killing 3 roster spots on your team. You cannot take 3 zeros, and you cannot walk into each week knowing you are taking 3 zeros when this is a contact sport with lots of injuries. You can't willingly walk into 3 zeros a week. That's why Tank Dell doesn't work.
Quarterback's the least likely to get injured position.
That's why 4 quarterbacks doesn't work. That's why 2 quarterbacks does work. That's why it does work. So if we get Darnold here, then we can still stick with 2 quarterbacks. I'm okay with that. Because Darnold has a job.
I think that'll be the play. I mean, Darnold has not more than just a job. You know, he's got a pretty good setup there.
I mean, that's a tremendous.
So now, Bob, basically, so here's our build right now: 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 8 receivers, 1 tight end. So we're going to have to start backfilling tight ends and going out and get some more running backs.
I can't believe Darnold fell like that. That doesn't.
I can't either. That's a home run.
I mean, we're looking, Joe, and I know the offensive line for Minnesota is much different than the offensive line for.
Not that much different. They both have holes. Minnesota might have been a little bit worse.
I'm looking at, and it's good to go into the past, but not take those numbers too seriously, but seriously enough. I'm looking at a quarterback last year that with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and part of the way with TJ Hawkinson averaged 19.5 points per game and was the 8th best quarterback in average per game. When you look at where his total season points were, 8th best points amongst quarterbacks last year. And you're walking into a situation where you're giving him the PPR merchant of JSN, the PPR pass merchant of Cooper Kupp. Who knows what Cooper Kupp is going to do? You have 2 tight ends in Noah Fant and AJ Barner. By the way, now that we have Darnold, we could target one of those tight ends late if we wanted to.
Oh, yeah, they're a great late guy. Which one would you rather have? I'll throw him in the last round.
We can also shoot Marquise Valdez-Scantling into this lineup. Talk about a boom week.
Dude, no.
Talk about a boom week.
We've hated on Valdez-Scantling
I have never hated on Valdez. I've never hated on Valdez-Scantling. You have. And the only reason
existed because he's Rodgers' boy.
Marquise Valdez-Scantling.
I was thinking this thought the other day. Is it possible that Mahomes is the same way? It's just not as obvious yet.
Well, Mahomes, I don't think Mahomes is the same way when it comes to players, specific players. Because I mean, like Mecole Hardman has been there. I mean, Mecole Hardman has come back and all this other stuff. I mean, it could be, but I don't think it's as obvious as it is with Darren Rodgers.
Well, that's because Rodgers left and he brought everyone with him.
But Marquise Valdez-Scantling.
So would you rather have Barner or Fant, though?
Well, as Best Ball said here, Seattle is live to draft a tight end. So maybe
they are.
Maybe because we are confident enough with Dalton Kincaid, maybe we rock Barner and take a rookie. So
there's no way in hell I'm taking a rookie tight end. They're useless. The only one who won't be useless is Warren.
Hey, okay, I've been looking at. So I follow a couple content creators on TikTok, and there's one creator that has shown this board. It's a graph, a correlation graph, right, of tight ends and like how they could be in the market. Harold Fannin is all the way up at the top of the board because he has not basically ever been asked to block.
He's not a good prospect.
It's just interesting. Hey, family, what's going on, man? All right, so who's the game plan here in
Devin
round
Neal?
16? Okay, Devin Neal has fallen for people.
Yeah, I like it. I'll take advantage of it. Martinez is a guy I love too.
Okay, I like Martinez.
Martinez is a power back here.
I like Martinez a little bit more because he can catch passes too. I like that. Is he coming up in the ADP?
Oh, we're not going Devin Neal then.
Is Martinez coming up in the ADP?
Martinez already went. So did Devin Neal.
Oh, really?
So I'm probably going Ollie Gordon here.
Yeah, I don't love it, but that's all right. It's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Average make you miss. Average make you miss. Yeah, I mean,
let's go, Ollie.
Damian Martinez is climbing a little bit more recently as well. Yeah, so family, we'll rock down the lineup that we had, but this lineup is a Josh Allen with a Sammy Darnold. And for everything that we said at the top of the show, we do think it's valuable to have some of these in your portfolio as you're going through building your lineups for the early best ball, which will end on draft day, the 24th. And then we'll start to come out with best ball manias and DraftKings big best ball tournaments.
Yeah, Bob, I don't hate this lineup. I just know I love the one on Monday a little bit more. And it might go back to exactly what you said, the Monty Warren picks.
Monty Warren. That's what it is. I mean, I actually think maybe actually what it does come down to is the Gibbs is your Gibbs JSN. Maybe you would have rather have had CD and Taylor, right?
No, I love Gibbs.
So
it's not Gibbs. It's not the problem. It's certainly not him. I like Gibbs a lot. So, Bob, I'm either going to go. I'm probably going to go with Dalton Schultz on this pick.
I think that's a waste, personally, because I do think
there's no tight ends left that I like at all. There's Schultz, Taysom, Johnson, Sanders, and Gray.
I mean, I don't think that any of them are great options, and I would just pass on tight end right now.
I don't think so either.
Take a player that's not a tight end right now. I don't think it's a necessity to take one right now.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's just bringing up someone that you think you can hit with.
That's what I want to do, because there's such a low hit rate for those tight ends. Basically,
yeah, it is. So I'm looking at a rookie running back, like maybe Montague.
That's early. That's early to bring him up.
All of them are early, dude. We're at the point where it's.
How many wide receivers are we sitting at?
8.
Can we take our 9th here?
We could.
Like Westbrook Akine or Marquez Valdez-Scantling, one of the two.
Westbrook Akine, it is. I love that. He's a great pick. Love him.
I like the correlation with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, but I can understand why you don't. But again, I
don't like Scantling as a player.
I get it. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I do, and I think that he could have. I think that he could have potential to be successful this year. When I look at Dalton Schultz, I see where your kind of framework can be at for a guy like Schultz, because last year a lot of injuries. We know that they need to be healthier, but I'm looking at a tight end who averaged 7 points last year. 112
and no real spikes.
Points. Not huge spikes. He's sitting there tied with Noah Gray. His biggest spike weeks were a 17-pointer and a 15-pointer, which is good. But he never eclipsed 10 points in PPR at all. Noah Gray had 3 spike weeks, 2 in the 10s, which is fine. Noah Fant, similarly, garbage. AJ Barner as well. So, I mean, like, you look at it and you say to yourself, it's okay. It's all right. I'm not pushing for any one of those tight ends any more than the other.
Hey, Bob, can you pull up the 40 times from the combine? I'm going to spit guys at you. You're just going to tell me who was the fastest.
All right, let me see. We'll get to that question in a moment. Down there, BB. All right, NFL Combine results. All right, who do you want it from?
Smith.
Running backs?
Yep.
All right. Tootin, Jadon Blue, Brashard Smith. Those are the top 3.
Brashard Smith's the pick then. Got it. Okay.
You don't want any Jadon?
I thoroughly believe speed is going to be the most valued thing.
I do like Jadon, though. Jadon can actually do some stuff, but he is undersized, so that's something to be concerned about.
Well, that is a major concern about Blue, yeah.
What do you guys think of Harrison Bryant? Could have a significant role if Goddard on the move. Rumors are true. So, BB, when we've been taking when we've been thinking about Jalen Hurts and we've been thinking about Dallas Goedert, etc. We are usually back ending a little bit of that with Calcaterra.
And we're going to do that again today, by the way. He'll be our last round pick.
No, because you want to take a Seattle one, right?
I don't want to take a Seattle one. I don't think they'll ever score.
Okay. I mean, so
you can't tell me who's better between the infinite Noah Fant or Barnes. Both of them aren't good.
I mean, yeah, I can't fight you on that. I really can't.
I mean, I think Barnes had 1 week where he put up 15 points and we got all excited about him, and then the next week he put up 0.2.
Yeah,
he had a fumble.
What an asshole. So
they never give him the ball again after that.
As it goes to Harrison Bryant, I mean, like, I don't think when it comes to a fantasy perspective that there's veritably any difference between Bryant versus Calcaterra. So there's a chance, BB, that either one of them could be successful going into this year, depending on what they
so gross. Taking both Cleveland quarterbacks. Watch them trade up to 15th and get Shador. And then that'd be a wasted turn.
But it's at the end. So, I mean, like, who's this
His
first
quarterback's Fields.
Oh no. Oh, no. Oh, that's rough. Yeah. But yeah, I would say, BB, that I would be comfortable with either Calcaterra or taking a chance on Harrison Bryant, to be honest with you. Either one, if you hit on either one in the 20th round, you're gold, right? And
yeah,
you're not sacrificing anything. So maybe you sprinkle in both as you layer in your portfolio. Maybe you sprinkle in both Harrison Bryant, and maybe you sprinkle in a little bit there. Maybe you sprinkle in a little bit of Mason Taylor as well. Maybe you sprinkle in a little bit more rookie tight ends, especially if you're just kind of shooting for the moon on a couple of tight ends. Because, like, if you look at the tight end numbers, and we're just going to go by averages again, right? And you look at, to be a top 10 tight end, right? You really, in a PPR, you really want to average more than 10 points a week. You have Cade Otton here, missed 2 games, averaged 10. His average was 10. Dallas Goedert missed a bunch of games. His average was 10.5. You got to come up here and look at number 4, which was David Njoku, got past the threshold of 13.5. He missed 5 games as well. You come back and you look at all the veritable mess of tight ends that were taken just now, and Noah Gray was sitting there. Dalton Kincaid was sitting at 7.8 points. We think that he's going to have a major uptick. Noah Gray sitting at 7 points. Dalton Schultz, 7 points. Juwan Johnson, 6.8. Noah Fant, 6.8. Brenton Strange, 5.1. Jordan Akins, 4.6. Like, just Jatavian Sanders, 4.4. So if you're going to take a chance at a position this late, I mean, take a chance on a bunch of tight ends that might just fall into the end zone and give you points, because if all you need to beat is 10, right? Yeah. All the points you need to beat is 10. You can gain that in PPR with a touchdown, 2 catches, and a couple, and what, 30-ish yards, 40-ish yards?
Your standard 3 catch, 50 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that gets you there. That gets you more than there.
There's a good conversation to be had, and I believe we had this with family the other day about guys like Kittle, guys like Bowers, guys like Trey McBride. The reason why they have so much value to be taken that early is because you don't have to waste 3 picks in these other rounds taking a bunch of guys that will only ever max out at 6 points. Like, it doesn't, like, the conversation to be had about Brock Bowers is that it gives you so much value, because we did this with the Brock Bowers build, similarly to these Josh Allen builds and Hurts builds, that if you're going to build them, have the guts to not take another tight end until later, because if he's successful, he's going to be really successful. And there is no need to carry a second tight end on your roster, because as we've established, there are only the last, and I can even go back before we get to the comment about Jaden Blue, even go back to 2023. Dalton Schultz averaged 10 points, and he was the 10th best tight end. Dalton Kincaid, 9.4. You go down to the 20th, 6.9, right? So you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, well, Gerald Everett, 7.4. 6.9 was the 25th best tight end. I mean, you look at the 25th best wide receiver, or even look at the 40th best wide receiver, for goodness sakes, in 2023. And you're not getting 6.9 points until you get to wide receiver 75. So, like, there's a huge conversation to be had that an elite tight end, similarly to an elite quarterback, it's hero. I would say it's more hero than the running back and more hero than the wide receiver. If you're taking hero tight end or hero quarterback, it necessitates that you only take one more, maybe two if it's the tight end position continuously. Now, as far as Jadon Blue,
so let's go through the roster we built here for you guys that showed up late. This is with the hero quarterback.
Before we go there, Joe, before we go there, I want to just mention this for family here for Jadon Blue. Joe and I don't mind taking Jadon Blue in these last couple of rounds, right? It's total lottery pick, total. If he hits, he's going to hit. The one thing about him is that, yes, he can do a lot of things, but he is a bit undersized. And if he's not put in the right situation, he's probably not going to find a lot of success. He is getting shot up in a lot of mocks, which is nice for his draft capital. So it's good to keep your eye on a guy like Jadon Blue because he probably will be he probably will hit some fantasy lineups at some point in the season.
Yeah. So the thing I like about this build in particular, Bob, is that compared to the 3 quarterback builds, we're not shopping in that neighborhood of quarterback hell and being stuck in the run and hoping we get someone. You know, we said it with Allen. Again, we've discussed here, there's only 3 of the top 5 quarterbacks I want to do this build with. Allen, Jackson, or Hurts. I don't want to do it with Daniels or Burrow. But that being said, we can make an argument that the top 5 is a great start, or the top 6 picks there. I mean, I love this start. Where Bob and I both agree that the draft went a little sideways was the pick of Warren. Now, a little bit was that my fear because Walker had already gone, so at Judkins.
Again, it's not Warren himself. It's Warren plus Monty. It's both together.
Well, I wanted to take 2 there because I believe the 3rd running back should be taken before the 7th round. It's a firm belief of mine from drafting.
I get it, and I understand. I understand your viewpoint there, but and I understand why you wouldn't want to take a guy like Aaron Jones. I absolutely understand why, because the injuries are a lot. And when I look at we just did this experiment for tight ends and wide receivers. I just want to pull up Jaylen Warren, a quick sample size for Jaylen Warren from last year. I know he was hurt for most of the year, but I just want to pull him up just to kind of, assuage your fears or whatever. But when he came back at the end of last year, he put up, after the bye, 9.5, 10.8, 15.4, 10.4, 9.2, 2.5, 14.2, 16.2. So
there's some spikes, there's some spikes there.
If he is successful, then that's great. But here's the other issue is that if Montgomery is successful, there is reason to believe that instead of fighting for our RB2 slot, Warren will be fighting with the next 4 players we just took for the flex.
That's a win. I mean, quite frankly, if your number 3 running back is fighting for the flex, it's a win. So
family, I appreciate it. I mean, I don't have short king hate, but there are teams out there that hate short running backs. But let me tell you about the man, the myth, the legend, my favorite running back, probably of all time, Darren Sproles.
Oh, I knew you were going there.
I absolutely love Darren Sproles. He's not my favorite running back of all time. That's LT. But when I look at Darren Sproles and how short he is, it's like the Muggsy Bogues of football. I absolutely love it. He was so electric. It's just a disappointment that he was so undersized because when he went to Kansas State, I'll tell you what, you could write a paycheck each time he had the ball. Like, that was insane. Absolutely insane. And I love undersized players when they're successful. But I just don't, I don't know. In this day and age where everybody's like 6'9", 400 pounds, it just doesn't work anymore. But back to the team here, you look at those 3 wide receivers that we took there. There's a lot of there's correlation between McMillan and Mooney. That is if McMillan ends up seeing the field. We both like McMillan from just a player perspective. Joe and I are both in on McMillan.
He's another sophomore bump guy.
And he was a guy back in January when we didn't have clarity about the whole Godwin situation, where Godwin would sign. And people were saying Godwin might sign with the Giants, or Godwin might sign with the Steelers or the New England. We had a lot of Jalen McMillan stock.
We did.
And we had Jalen McMillan up probably in the 6th-ish, 7th-ish round, right around that Ricky Pearsall, Jacoby Myers stock, because we do believe that Tampa's offense can continue to be successful. This is a big change in the last 3 years, where if you would have told me this 3 years ago, I was super down on Baker, super down on Tampa in general. But it's good to see that this change in that organization has been for the better. And it helps that the defenses that they're playing aren't stellar either.
That's exactly it. Atlanta's never had a pass rusher. Carolina is a self-implosion. It's just inevitable. They always do it.
You look at it and you say, okay, McMillan has potential. When we were drafting this McMillan, I didn't really want him. But again, you look at what's coming on around the end. Joe could have taken Tyler Warren there. He exercised a little bit of restraint not taking Tyler Warren because we knew we wanted Kincaid a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, you can argue we did the perfect tight end backfill, not taking one in the first 10 rounds. And if Kincaid is the only real one from the 10th round on, want to build a team around.
And then so the Pierce pick,
I love that.
We can thank Best Ball for the Pierce love. I went into a discussion when it happened about us not potentially overloading. You definitely don't want to overload your portfolio with Pierce. He does have boom spike week potential if Anthony Richardson is playing. But again, what we're looking for here is boom spike week potential. And you ask yourself, well, does Higgins offer that? Does Trey Harris offer that? Does Leggett offer that? Maybe Leggett, maybe.
I don't think
the other guys not so much. So yeah, why not take Pierce? We wanted to take Dylan Sampson there, bring him up because Dylan Sampson has been climbing the board a little bit stronger, a little bit more. Now, where we took Darnold
rounds ahead though.
Yeah, where we took Darnold, we weren't expecting Darnold to be there when he came back to us. And that pick probably would have been like your Devin Neals or your Damian Martinez right there. But you can't pass him up. If you have JSN, I don't think that you can pass him up.
Family, I want to hit on this point of Pierce because we drafted a couple of guys like this that I would never want them in a league where I need to set my lineup in Dynasty or redraft. But in Best Ball, I'm big on them. Another one of that guy we took early was the premium version, which is JMO. I would never draft JMO unless it's an incredibly deep starting lineup with like 6 starters. I would never draft him because I don't want to play is this the week or not? I hate players like that. But Best Ball needs those kinds of players.
So here's the thing. I would, but I would also say that Joe's absolutely right. And here's why. So, you look at your regular redraft and your regular dynasty leagues where you're setting lineups every week. You're looking for optimally, you're looking for high ceiling, high floor. That's your guys in the first, second round. You want high ceiling, high floor. Once you get back down, your comment here about the Gabe Davises of the world. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
But JMO, similar style here. JMO for me, at least he's shown this past year, although he is somewhat of, has law problems, is a little bit of a head case, whatever, is genuinely a good player. He's genuinely
there's no doubt. That's why he's the premium version.
And I am okay, because I know we've talked about this with a lot of people on our show about when I look at a guy like Marvin Harrison and I look at a guy like JMO, those are two guys that in redraft leagues, we're going to get a lot of start-sit questions about Marv and potentially about JMO this upcoming year.
Mm-hmm.
But I am not benching either of those guys. Ideally, you probably aren't drafting those guys if you aren't believing that you're going to play them. But JMO shows me enough that his spike weeks really spike. so I have to play him every week. It's just like you're not taking a 0, but you're close to it. Then you look at what we did here is that we filled our lineup, and I would even put kind of DK into this discussion until we know who the Steelers quarterback is. You're looking at basically 5 guys that with your Pierce, your Coleman, your Mooney, your JMO, and your DK that given optimal conditions, could all potentially spike 100 yards on 4 catches for a touchdown. That's true. And that's the allure. That for me is the allure away from starting with a guy like Puka or starting with a guy like Jefferson, is that you start with a baked-in running back, you take that hero quarterback, and then you can fill your team with these. Instead of filling your team with the Daks and the Staffords and the Richardsons and the Drake Mays, you go in and you say, I am undeniably knowing that if Josh Allen can score 30 points, I have a competitive shot to win this. And then you pair that up. And that's why I think Josh Allen and Lamar, like with this, and Hurts are optimal for this, is that if I can land Josh Allen, a 30-point game from Josh Allen, if I can land a 20-point game from Gibbs, and I have 8 chances to hit a 20-point game from one of these wide receivers.
This is how you win $1 million.
That has shown me how to do that. That is why I'm comfortable having some of the portfolio with the hero quarterback. That's why this all
I'm kind of
works.
leaning into it more and more. I'm starting to love the hero quarterback in a way that, again, you cannot take a tight end with it too. It's just the hero quarterback also means late tight end. But if you do it, I'm starting to lean into it and love it.
But like I said, if you go back up to the top of that board,
especially with how cheap Andrews is, with how cheap the Coleman is and Kincaid are, I really think that there's some value here for
go
your
up
good
the
guy.
board a little bit. I just want to talk about this, and like this doesn't take away anything that we've said about guys like Stafford or Dak or Penix. I still like those guys. But I just kind of want to like break this down just a little bit. Is that your input cost on a Kansas City stack and your input cost on a Tampa stack are going to cost you more. And that cost, I think those offenses are going to be great this upcoming year in terms of the passing attack and in terms of the running attack for Tampa. But when I look at this and I say, hey, I can take Josh Allen in the first round and then take his correlatedness in the 12th round versus taking Baker and Godwin and Bucky in the first 5 rounds. So I'm looking for less things to happen. So that stack, I really like that. Like your Baker, your Bucky, your Godwin. I love that stack. I'm not saying anything against it. But when you
committed to that off the jump.
But when you build Godwin, when you build Bucky, similarly when you build Marv, when you build Worthy, when you build Rice, you do want that correlation to those guys because, you know, that's important. Like DJ Moore, and here's the thing. Usually when I'm building DJ Moore, I'm not building Caleb. Let's be honest here. If DJ Moore is successful, that does not mean that Caleb Williams is having a top 5 week. Okay. But and this is why I say this, Baker and Joe Burrow are kind of the only guys that this kind of works for, right? Is that if Baker and Burrow are successful, Jamar Chase is going to be the number 1 wide receiver that week. Mike Evans or Godwin is going to be in the top 5 or top 6 of wide receivers. And they're both going to be in the top 5 of quarterbacks. So, you know, I look at it and I say, and you know, for those of you that don't believe me, I just want to pull it up real quick. Just give a little example. So here we go. This is week 6. Week 6, Caleb was the number 1 rated quarterback, 29.6 points. All right. Week 6, DJ Moore was wide receiver, I believe, if I'm reading this correctly. Let me just see again. Let me follow my
get it right.
Let me follow my column down here so I don't mess up this stat.
Bob, make this a strong stat. This is your ending stat. Nail
this
it.
Is going to be strong. DJ Moore had 2 points. So Caleb Williams was at 29.6, number 1 quarterback during the week, and he ended up at wide receiver 78. You look at DJ Moore, the week before that, week 5, DJ Moore had 22.5 points. You go back to Caleb Williams, week 5, he's sitting there at 23.6 points and was the 6th best quarterback. So outside the top 5, who was also alongside him? Baker. So, there's a reason to believe with all these correlations and all these stacks that you can build that the 2-1 stack is nice. But if you're vesting in it this early, there is some, when they win, there is some decent correlation there. But Stafford is the better guy that I would want to pair with, because if Puka hits and Devontae Adams hits, then Stafford definitely is, because he only passes the ball to those 2 guys.
Pretty much.
So I wonder how many Winders family says here last year hit on Westbrook Akine. He came out of nowhere and was hitting 12 to 22 mostly. I mean, a ton. I mean, you look at how many redrafters they were out of the playoffs, right? They were out of the playoffs, and then Westbrook Akine hit, and they rode Westbrook Akine into their playoffs, into the sunset. Same with Jonnu. Jonnu's one of those guys where people weren't thinking about him. But why I say that this is important is that when you look at the overall draft board, like you said, family, we will have a show where we kind of map up some of our early drafts versus some of our more recent drafts to see how these things have changed, just so you can see when it's good to get into certain things. But there is so much to say about the cost of stacking the Burrows, the cost of stacking the Bakers, and the cost of stacking, and depending on how you want to stack it with the Jalen Hurts versus your Lamars, versus your Josh Allens. Because look, Lamar, you don't have to stack him with Zay. If Lamar's having a good day, that doesn't mean that Zay's having a good day.
Could be right? Andrew's time.
It's these pocket passing quarterbacks that you kind of want to get involved with. And Joe, let's just, before we go, can you go down to where those quarterbacks are again? And I just want to see. Hey, Magic, how's it going, man? All right, top 5 dynasty quarterbacks before we go here. Before we go, I want to talk about this for a moment. But top 5 dynasty quarterbacks. I think that when we look at it, most people are going to be putting, if it's a startup dynasty league right now, you're probably going to be putting Jaden Daniels as number 1, but I still have Josh Allen as number 1. Josh Allen.
I would still have Allen Lamar ahead of it.
Josh Allen is still the number one quarterback in dynasty for me. Then you can make an argument next. You can make an argument next between Lamar and Daniels. But I think if I'm walking into a dynasty draft and my purpose is to draft a quarterback in the first round, it's Josh, then it's Lamar, then it's Daniels. I know Daniels will give you more time, but he's still an unknown commodity. Okay. Those are obviously.
You always, in any startup dynasty, you always have to go to win year 1, because you got to make sure the thing's going to live. So many dynasties only do 1 year. So you got to build it to live year 1.
Those are the first 3 I take. So those are my first 3 dynasty quarterbacks that I take. Then you can make a case. You can make a reasonable case for Joe Burrow. You absolutely can make a reasonable case for Joe Burrow. We're looking at the hodgepodge of quarterbacks that are out there for dynasty right now.
You don't want Mahomes in dynasty. Fields wouldn't be ranked that high, but he's a guy that I take as my number 2 all the time. I don't want Knicks. I don't want to jump on that bus. Stroud's still a guy I love for dynasty. I love Stroud probably more than most. I'd probably have him as my 5th. I don't want Murray. Herbert and Stafford are the same guy, just 40 years apart. So I would not take Kyler, but Stroud would definitely be ahead of Kyler.
So I would say it's Allen, it's Lamar, it's Daniels. Then you can make an argument for Bo Nix because he put up a decent performances last year.
I think he is so poised for regression. It's not even funny. They had such an easy schedule.
You're definitely putting in Stroud, I think. And you can make a reasonable argument. And this is why I say, like, maybe not Kyler. You can make a reasonable argument for Caleb Williams. You could.
I would not. No, you can't.
I won't right now, but I
would take Dak before Caleb, without a doubt. I take Herbert before Caleb.
I dislike. Oh wait, yeah, we forgot Hurts. So
Hurts is fifth. Yeah, Hurts is after Stroud.
Yeah, it's Hurts and Stroud, and then I'd probably have Caleb. So that would be my sixth.
I wouldn't have Caleb anywhere near it. I don't want to own anything to do with Caleb Williams.
Yeah, but it would be
not at all.
It would. Oh wait, no. It would be Allen. Hold on, Magic. It would be Allen. It would be Lamar. It would be Daniels. It would be Hurts, and it would be Burrow. Those would be the five.
Yeah, Burrow's in the top five. Yeah, if we missed it, he should.
Then you have Stroud. Then you have Caleb or Kyler. Then you could make an argument for Nix or Love. Maybe still Fields if people like Fields.
Prescott's ahead of all these guys.
If it's a non-startup, obviously Shadur is up there. Hurts is definitely top five. But you look at what we were saying is looking at the quarterbacks here. They're climbing, Joe. They're climbing.
I see it. This used to
Jared
start.
Goff,
This used to start in the 11th. Now start in the 9th.
Jared Goff has fallen. He used to be taken ahead of guys like Mahomes and Caleb. He's fallen back now because of the loss of Ben Johnson. Remember, before Ben Johnson left, our drafts were having Goff as the next up before like Mahomes and Williams, and we were snatching up a little bit more Mahomes. And you look at it, and you look at Team 6 there, or Team 1 starting with 6 wide receivers. Joe has said this ad nauseum for people watching, is that when you draft 6 wide receivers in the first 6 rounds, there are going to be people out there that tell you, okay, you could do that because that is where the highest draft capital is. So you want to get the highest assets. But again, you are taking 2 zeros.
You're basically saying I stuck at 2 of my first 4 picks.
You are automatically saying exactly. Joe and I, we agree on that. If you are taking 6 wide receivers to start, you are saying that 2 of these guys will not be successful. And I don't think you can walk into the draft doing that.
You also guarantee your running back room to fail.
I'm okay with 4. I'm okay with 4. Absolutely with that.
I don't like it, but I understand it.
Bateman is better than Zay. I won't say yes to that because you guys know my take on Bateman in general. But Bateman proved himself last year to be a nice and quite honestly, I think he did that because Lamar was watching. I think Lamar watches our show because he heard me hate on Bateman a ton. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to show that guy. And he threw 11 touchdowns to him. Bateman has more value in underdog to me than on DraftKings because he doesn't get enough receptions to be valuable. Daniels could be Stroud this year. I don't think that will be the case. But I do think
it's way more likely that Nix is.
I still think Stroud is okay. Is he barely a top 10 dynasty now? I think he's still concretely in the top 10 because I couldn't, people don't really like Purdy. Drake May, people might push Drake May into the top 10 for dynasty.
You're just talking craziness and naming every quarterback you have. You're killing our credibility with every word you say.
Hold on. I like this take.
No, this is also 100% wrong.
Well, we can talk about that, Magic. I like the hotness of the take. I disagree with it, but I like the hotness.
Stroud will have a chance to be an MVP consideration this year.
None of the
rest of those names will.
I disagree with that statement. Like 1,000%, because there is absolutely no universe. There is no universe that CJ Stroud will be considered for MVP in a year that will probably have Lamar Jackson being successful again, Josh Allen being successful again, Jalen Hurts being successful again.
I don't know, man.
Successful again.
You get Houston to 12 wins, you automatically get that talk no matter what. And I think they're doing that.
You'll get the talk, but you won't win it.
That's what consideration means.
Jared Goff got the talk, but he didn't.
Jared Goff should have got the award. Let's be honest. Jared Goff should have got the award.
He was valuable to the. I mean, Gibbs was valuable too, but let's see here. Last question here, family, before we head off. Stroud and Mixon for J-Mac and Achane in that league where I'm trying to stack, do JJ to stack with all his receivers. I like Achane.
I would not get rid of Stroud, but I do want Achane. So
I like Achane a lot.
Go for your stack. The answer I would give would be go for your stack.
Fighting words. Fighting words. All right, guys. Well, we are going to pull up next week. We'll see if we can put together like a little like kind of, we'll pull up a bunch of the drafts and run through them after we do one next week. We'll stay on just a little bit and try to work through and talk about, maybe we'll start a little bit early because I'm off next Monday. So maybe
actually on Monday you get to control the buttons. Bob will be running the draft board. We're going to be doing this in reverse on Monday. It's going to be fun and exciting.
Yeah, because I'm going to be on my home computer, so that will be
it's going to be in reverse. You guys don't get to see Bob's fun background.
All right, everybody.
We'll
catch you on Monday. Happy Easter if you guys celebrate, and we'll see you on Monday, 3:45 or maybe a little bit earlier. Peace out, everyone.